also want to do a version without all the gradients, just to have a nice, clean, simple version. So in this case, I'm just going to go to File, just going to go to Document Setup, and we're going to edit our artboards. And I'm going to make a couple of duplicates. So I'm just going to add a new artboard and then add a new artboard, just clicking it twice. And I can click on the title of the artboard and move it around. So I can bring 2 down here as options to show off to the client. So this will be kind of layout option 2. So I'm just going to take all of this, hold down option and drag, and just make a duplicate. And I'm going to make a clean version that is just a solid color without this kind of gold foil stamping. Let's do our solid gold color that we had. And same goes for this. Just going to release, right clicking and releasing that clipping mask so that I can get that back again. Let's do a solid color for that as well. So that uses solid colors. That looks really, really good as it is. I just, maybe that wasn't the right gold texture to show. I think in real life that'll look really good when it's not just a kind of a fake example of it. But I really love how this clean look is going. So let's say I want to present these to the client. You can export these. Let's say we want to just do a sample. It's okay if it just goes to this little artboard edge because that's all that's going to be exported. But when we do get this to print, let's say they approve it and say, yes, I want it. You want to make sure you extend all your background elements to your bleed. This will eventually it'll be trimmed and cut down to this, but this is just that extra bleed. And most printers require that for business cards. So this is all going to not really be seen. That bleeds off to the edge. That's good. This is a white background, so you don't have to worry about it. White just automatically, that's not really ink, so we don't have to worry about white. So all these elements that are color or photos need to bleed off to the edge. And so let's say let's do 2 things. Let's do a client presentation. We're not going to send it to a printer. We just want to send a JPEG. First of all, let me save this. And let me go to export, and I'm going to export as. I'm going to make sure I select use artboards because it's going to export it and use the artboards as a way to crop the JPEG. So I'm going to go down and select JPEG, and we're just going to do client sample biz card. And then when you do, this gets complicated, but hang with me. When you're doing a client presentation, they're mostly going to be seeing it on their email or their text. So you want to make sure you send it in a digital RGB environment. You only send CMYK to professional printing companies. Anything else will be in RGB. So we're just going to make sure we have a nice high resolution. And we're going to go ahead and click OK. This is when it's okay to have a larger file size because you're presenting it to the client. You really want to wow them. So this is what it'll look like. It exported each artboard as its own little JPEG. And so there you can present that to the client. You could also bring these in Photoshop. You could put it on a Photoshop mock-up of a business card, which we learned how to use mock-ups earlier in the class. So you can do that. I highly recommend that because sometimes it's nice for the client to see that nice look to it. If I am ready to send this to the printer and the client's like, love the brand, love the business card, I just wanted to talk about that because I have a lot of students that say, well, how do you export it for print? Well, you got the bleed, check. We want to make sure all of the typography is outlined. Right now it's live text, so I can double click and type it out and it's editable text. What we want to do for the printer, they may not have this font installed on their computer. So we want to create outlines so they don't have the font on their computer to be able to open up your document. So we're just going to select all, or we can go up to select, click on all. We want to go up to type and go down to create outlines. So we've done this before. We're just going to go type, create outlines. It's going to outline all the type. That is a required step for the printer. And make sure you don't save your final document. You want to be able to save one that has the live typography so you can go back and make changes. So this will just be an extra print ready file. So so we have bleeds, we outline the type, make sure we have nice margins. There's nothing that's going to get cut off or be too tight to the edges. So we're kind of checking that. We can go to File, save as. So we're doing a save as, and we're going to do a PDF. So this will be a PDF, and we're going to click on save. So save as, file, save as. And there's a preset, Adobe PDF preset that's default in Adobe Illustrator, and it's press quality. So I would definitely select press quality and leave everything as is. Make sure we always have 300 ppi for the resolution. 300 is a magic number for exporting print files. Marks and bleeds, we want to make sure we put on trim marks. And each printer's different. They say, I want you to include all this. This is how I've done it, and I've never had a printer have a problem with anything. I just click on trim marks. You don't need to put all that other stuff for right now. But we definitely want to use the bleed, so we want to check on bleed. And what's great about this is I had to select a few things here. I selected bleed, selected trim marks, made sure we're on 300, which is default. If I don't want to have to go back and do all this over again, you can save your preset by going up here to the top right, and I can say my print files, and I never have to do all those little settings again. It'll like memorize all of these settings for me. So I'm going to save as a PDF, and it's going to go ahead and save them as separate pages in one PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and double click. And there's the crop marks. That tells the printer where the bleed is to be cut, which is going to be right around here. And if I go over here to pages, it's going to have all my different pages. I can zoom out here. So there's the front, there's the back. Of course, we may not need to send them 2 copies. So we could just right click and delete these pages, or we would have just deleted those other 2 artboards. The client already approved the one without the gold foil stamping. That's it. You send the PDF to the printer, and they will be able to print it for you and send it to the client. And so that's kind of a simple walkthrough to how to prepare something for print.